hate being a woman, but I'm a parent. I've been with my partner for 3-4 years at this point. Like, I could lose everything. I didn't want to be here anymore. I was in hospital after pretty serious attempt, and I was up at 2 a.m. talking with a nurse who was just like, she saved my life.
So what was your boy puberty like?
It was like a light that switched on. The fact that I smelt like a man was great to me, but I'm treated differently because I'm trans. I've had to give my birth certificate in at a job and then got outed at that job, and it was a horrible experience. You're outed and alienated and bullied, basically. If I wasn't this way, it'd be so much easier. Like, I didn't even think I was going to make it to this age. My eldest is non-binary. People ask me all the time, do you think that's because you transitioned? My usual answer is...
Tell everybody who you are.
I'm Alex, 28, parent of 3.
And why are you here today?
To tell my story, I guess, and just be part of something bigger, to have pride, sense of community, just everything, all the above, really.
There's people out there who are hearing stuff about transgender people and they're not sure what to believe, and they don't know what's true, what's honest. And what I would really like to do is show the world how beautiful trans people are, and not scary, not weird, not unusual, just beautiful. Yeah. And also the stories behind it, because some people are saying, it's like social contagion and made up and it's a phase. And so I'd love to hear your story from the littlest to 28.
I knew something was different around about the age of 7. And my mum just tried to do what she thought was best. I was being bullied. I was a strange child. When I'd say, I don't want to be a girl, and she'd be like, oh, don't be silly. You're a girl, try and be more like the girls in your class. So you go along, you do what your mum tells you, you do your best. And looking back, what I thought was my best wasn't very good, but I did my best. Yeah, I remember being in primary school and being like, well, I'm not a girl. And they'd be like, they tell you off, like, what, you're talking nonsense, like, you are a girl. If we would have had the understanding and the knowledge that we have today back then, could have gone differently. But I think it doesn't matter your age. If you know, you know. But at the same time, I'm glad I experienced life as I did, because now I have my children and like things like that. You do sometimes think, well, what if it would have gone differently back then? Like, I think that's the ideal situation, but it has shaped me into the person that I am today. But that doesn't mean it was easy.
No.
I went through like teenage years, started puberty, was so uncomfortable, hated it. But it's kind of like, oh, well, no one likes this part. Like, it's difficult for everyone. So you get on with it. You try and make friends. You're just trying to find your own way. You're a teenager. I had my first child at 16, which at that point, you fill a role. Okay, like, I have to be a mum. I have to, do all these different things. So you do, and you do your best, and you get on with it, and you're uncomfortable, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Fast forward, that relationship broke down, and then I went on to a new relationship, had my other 2 children with my partner, who I'm with now. He's great. But during the process of being pregnant with my second child, it wasn't that I hated the thought of being a parent. I just was uncomfortable all the time. I didn't understand why everyone found it so easy, how some people just fit into it. It flowed, it was natural. It didn't feel natural to me. Loved being a parent, but didn't quite understand that it was being a woman that I didn't like. I didn't feel like all the other mums and things like that. By the time my youngest came along, I was in an extremely bad place mentally. In and out of hospital. I didn't want to be here anymore. And it was, by that point, I'd kind of figured that it was something to do with just generally not feeling like a woman. But by that point, I had so much to lose that I was like, I can't say anything. I don't want all this to go away, kind of thing. When my youngest was about 2 years old, I was in hospital after a pretty serious attempt, and I was up at 2 a.m. talking with a nurse who was just like, what is going on? And at that point, I was just like, I hate being a woman. But I'm a parent. I've been with my partner for 3-4 years at this point. Like, I could lose everything. Like, I can't say anything. And I remember she just said to me, she was like, you could carry on the way that you are and you'll be dead anyway. Or basically, what else have you got to lose? Kind of thing. So it took me a couple of weeks, but I went home, I came out to my partner, and it took a while. Felt like it wasn't instantaneous, like, oh, it's okay, like I'll stay. Like it we worked through it, and we're still together. We've been together now for over 10 years. And I'm very aware that that's not how it goes for some people. But I'm just incredibly grateful that that's how it worked out for me.
What would you like to say to that nurse if you were to ever see her again?
She saved my life. To have had that conversation was the turning point for me, from going to such a low place where I didn't think anything could get better ever, to where I am now. Although at the time I was thinking, oh yeah, it's easy for you to say that, like you won't lose everything, to now, if she hadn't kind of given me that, well, what else is there left to lose? Like, she was right. There was, at the time, it was so scary.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing I could have done.
Yeah. It makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it could have gone a different way. You could have had somebody who
exactly
didn't say that and didn't think that.
Because of the past with my mental health, finding help, like with accessing gender like services and things like that, it wasn't going to happen. It was incredibly disheartening and frustrating. And then I found 100DP, and that the rest is just history, literally, because I am genuinely in a different person in every way. As soon as I started treatment, that was it. I felt better because I was me for the first time. And it was an amazing journey, because being able to be yourself authentically, you can't really put that into words. It's my life now, as it is something that I would have never thought would have been possible. Like, I didn't even think I was going to make it to this age, and to be at the age that I am now, with the life that I have now, and friends and great family, and just thriving, basically. It's like night and day difference.
Well, I reckon that the world is a much better place with you in it.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad, very glad that was the outcome for you. So you lived as female,
yes.
Explored male and non-binary, or
I did actually.
Where do you sit now?
I'm male. Like, I've started going to the gym and found.
Show me your muscles. Oh yeah,
it's the shoulders now more than anything. And I do a lot of like gaming and things like that. I have one female friend, and again, still find it really hard to kind of relate to her. Men, I just feel, well, at home with. Like, they're easy, like, to talk to. it's always been like that though.
Yeah. So what was your boy puberty like?
Great. I loved it. I relished every change. The fact that I smelt like a man was great to me. Like, I was insufferable. I loved it. And then my voice changed, and I started developing really awkward facial hair. Still is kind of awkward. I've not been gifted with a full beard yet, but we'll get there. And the confidence, the came out of nowhere. I was just I was a different person. Like over the first 4 months, it was like a light that switched on. I was confident. I was kind of loud. I thought I was God's gift for a little bit, especially around like the 6-7 month mark. I was like, I am the most attractive human alive. Like any teenage boy does.
Yeah.
I think it healed something in me compared to going through female puberty and being so scared and so embarrassed, insanely embarrassed. And to going through male puberty, it just felt like polar opposite. It was great. I really enjoyed it. And the positive effects on like my mental health, like my anxiety levels, like being hungry as well, which is one that I was like, I didn't think that was something that I'd enjoy, but I was starving all the time, and it was great. And I'm glad I did get to experience it, and still do sometimes. And I'll listen to a video of myself from a few months ago, and I'll be like, did I used to sound like that? Mm-hmm. What do I sound like now? Mm-hmm. And like muscle growth, it's great. All of it.
Good. I want it now. Do you mind if I ask things like, did your period stop? Did the girl get stopped?
Yes. That was the time that I celebrated the most. It was around like the 4 month mark, and I knew I hated it. I knew I struggled with it. Like I would be so depressed for a good couple of days leading up to it, and then I just feel horrible, like for the week, and it like I wouldn't want to go out. I hated every second of it. And then when those went away, it was like a actual physical weight lifted off me when I realized. I was like, when was the last time? And that was a great feeling, the mental health side of it, not having that to worry about. Then when I got my tubes removed, I didn't have to worry about pregnancy anymore, which was something after my third child. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm definitely done.
Done your bit for
especially because my last one was unexpected, very unexpected. I'm glad he's here though, but he was very unexpected. He came at the wrong time. But I knew after my son, I was like, no, this is it. And not having that like weight on you is great.
So what would it have been like if your body had happened to go through boy puberty instead, a testosterone puberty?
I think I would have been insufferable. I would have been loud and like I would have had that sense of community in boys that I didn't have with girls. Like boys, I was always friends with boys and with ease, even from a young child, because we liked the same things, we had the same mannerisms. Like, whereas girls, I didn't get along with them. I didn't relate to them in any way. So I think I would have been just one of the guys, and it would have felt so much more natural. Like I wouldn't have felt so on my own. Like, yeah. Before puberty, I looked pretty much like boys my age. And I was happy in that bubble of blissful ignorance that it won't happen. I was dreading it happening, but it was something that I pushed to the back of my mind. I didn't even ever want to hear people talk about it. When people tried, I was like, I'm not listening. I don't want to hear about this. It's not going to happen to me. it was a constant reminder. And even though at that time I was still trying to fit in, I also very much still knew, but didn't have the words for it at the time, that I wasn't like the girls, but I wasn't like the boys either. It wasn't something that I wanted to go through. And I think I was happy in that space where it hadn't happened yet. And I felt bad for people who were going through it. And I was like, oh, I don't want that.
And what about your family?
I love my family.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Good. Good.
I have 3 kids, and they are all wonderful. And I came out when my 2 youngest were, I think, my youngest was about 3. And so my middle one was about 4. And for them, there was no question. They don't call me mom or dad. They just call me Alex. And for them, there was no, oh, why? Or that's weird or anything like that. Kids aren't inherently judgmental. If they love you and they care about you, they don't. I think the only difference that they noticed was the fact that I was happy. I was present. I was, I was just there. And my eldest, they were at an age where there was a couple questions, and that's just kids. But again, I think if I were to ask them, what changed, I think they'd probably go, you had your hair cut and you got out of bed in the morning. And my eldest is non-binary and has known since they were about the same age as I was, about 7. And people ask me all the time, do you think that's because you transitioned? And my usual answer is, but if it was a phase, they would have grown out of it by now. And they're happy. They're in high school now. They are funny and smart and just a normal child, just like all their peers. They're going through the awkward teenage stage. And I think me coming out was more of you don't have to be a man or a woman, because at first they were like unsure. And then once you give kids the language, like there are people, it's a spectrum, man, woman, non-binary, in between, it doesn't matter. Like you are who you are. And once they had a word for it, they're like, that's how I feel, because they've never been into typically girly things, but they didn't. And they came to me and they said, I don't want to be a girl, but I don't want to be a boy either. And that's when I was like, oh, there's and that's when they're like, that's what it is. And even though you might think 7, that's a bit young, they've run with it. That's how they're happy. And I don't think you can be too young. You either know, if you know, you know.
And so there are teachers out there at the moment who are being told in documents and being told by bosses and being told by the media and social media that you shouldn't affirm a child's gender. Mm-hmm. What will you say to them?
It doesn't affect you in any way. I think you can know at any age, and even if you go with the rhetoric of, it's a phase, like affirming a phase is not going to do any damage. You're not keeping this idea or this delusion or whatever they seem to think it is in their head. If they decide, actually, I'm somewhere in between, or I'm not, or like whatever, it literally doesn't affect you. But you can have so much of a positive impact if you just listen, even, and you don't say hurtful and negative and just damaging stuff.
I think what happens, in my experience, Alex, what happens is that people get the language.
Yes.
So at 7, your child got the language
Yeah.
or was asking you about it, and you were like, well, and luckily you were a parent who had some knowledge about
Yeah.
it, rather than don't be stupid.
Yeah. I've seen videos online, I've heard people, and they're like, oh, don't be stupid. And I'm just like I hate it. Like I can sometimes understand the apprehension, because you want your child to not have to experience people being mean to them, being like, you know, seeing them as different or weird, or like just, or influencing other kids. Like they're,
it's a shame, isn't it? Because we call it, you know, oh, you're being influenced, you're being peer pressured, or is it that actually you're seeing other opportunities, other ways to live your life, other ways to express yourself? When people say, oh, you're being influenced by that group, don't go over there.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not being influenced, I'm just learning. Look, I'm seeing something that's really describing me.
Yeah. I think if I would have had the understanding when I was a child, I think I would have had a more of a understanding, and kind of, there isn't just boy, girl, like, you know, this isn't the way you're born, you have to stay with it. If that's not how you feel, it's just not as black and white as that.
No.
And
it's interesting. I was talking to someone earlier who was saying that they came out as trans at 20.
Yeah.
And that's when they came out, that's when they realised. And then later they said, actually, I knew from when I was 5. So what happened between 5 and 20 was they didn't understand what it was. Yeah. And people often say, well, 5 is too young. You can't know yourself at 5. Everyone knows at 5, but they just maybe don't have that language to explain what it is, isn't it? I think that's what people have told me anyway.
I mean, as a child, you get your clothes bought for you, you get your toys bought for you. You're taught from a really young age, boys play with this, boys do this. They go play out in the dirt and climb trees. Girls, they play with dolls and they, you know, dress up, and like it. You have no choice as a child to just go along with what people say or suggest. And I don't think it should be something people, if their child questions gender norms, it shouldn't be something that's scary. It should be something that is, because it doesn't automatically mean that your child is going to be trans. Maybe they just, I don't know, they just don't want to be put in a box. And it should be celebrated more than feared, I think, because not everyone is the same.
And if we were to allow children to explore everything, sexuality and gender identity and personality, or everything, then we would have a much more diverse, happy childhood. But I do think children coming through they're going to show us the way. I mean, young people like yourself are already showing us the way. And I think the children of today are going to show us even more, aren't they? And then maybe people like your mum, you mentioned, maybe then your mum would have had that language herself to understand it, which I guess she didn't, because she'd never come across.
I was already being bullied as a child. I was kind of a strange child. I think if she would have had the knowledge back then, it wouldn't have been... She was doing what she thought was best. She thought, you already kind of not got many friends. Try and fit in with the other girls. Like, try and make some friends. Like, do this. Like, she thought she was doing what was best. And I don't hold it against her. Like, she was just doing what any parent wants. She just wants the best. She was never mean with it. There was no shouting. There was no name calling. There was no punishment. It was just wanting what was best. I did it with all of mine. Whatever they wanted to do, whatever they wanted to play with. And 2 of mine, they are happy with their gender. Like, they, you know, I don't want a little army of little trans kids. Like, I just, like, you let them explore, they find things that they like, and as long as they're happy, you're happy. And my youngest 2 are well-adjusted, happy, like average children. So I think the kind of idea that people have of trans people who have children want them to be trans like them. We don't. We want them to be happy, and in whatever way that comes about.
Wouldn't it be nice if that's what our society wanted for our young people today? We just want our young people to be happy.
Yeah.
We just want our young people to have a place to explore themselves and come into their own life, what's going to be the best contributing life for them, so that they can contribute to society.
Exactly.
That would be so nice. Just the same as parenting.
Exactly. Kids should be free to explore anything. And that should be the whole point of being a parent. It's just letting your child explore the world in whatever way, and they'll turn out. You can't force a child to like something. Yeah. Like, as much as I want one of mine to like dance, they don't. Like,
no budding dancing dancers.
So it's, and you can't force a child to be a certain way.
No.
They'll either eventually just rebel and be like, no, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I like, or they'll go along with it and they'll just be unhappy. But you, as a parent, you'd know they're unhappy.
I think so many people say as well, don't they, that look, don't do anything now, because when they reach puberty, they're going to definitely grow out of it. They're just dressing up at the moment, and then when puberty happens, they'll be normal again. And it's just like, as if like, please hold on, hope that they're going to be normal. Hope. Oh no, damn, they're still, And it's like, it's so cruel, isn't it?
It is, because if anything, puberty is such a confusing time, and to add pressure on top of that is just a recipe for disaster. Like, if you truly want your child to be happy, just go with it. Like, and if you were right and it is just a phase, then no harm, no foul. Like, they'll either look back on the pictures that you took of them during that time and they'll cringe, or they'll be like, I'm so glad that you allowed me to explore that. And
Alex, if you could see photos of me when I was 15, you should just see what I was wearing. You would be like, luckily it was just before digital cameras, so there aren't any, but you should have seen it. What about puberty blockers? Because people might say, okay, well, all right, we'll allow them to explore their gender, and we'll believe them and support them and go, it's okay. But then if you give them some medicine, then that's like, well, two things: leading them on a path of you can't get off. What do you say to people who say that?
The same medication that they give to cis children who are going through early puberty has no lasting damage. It just, for lack of better wording, hits the pause button until it's the right time. Why is it okay for cis children to have them and it caused no damage, but as soon as a trans or gender questioning child wants them, all of a sudden they're dangerous and shouldn't be given, and things like that? When, again, all you're doing is hitting a pause button until they can either figure out what it is that they want or what they need, or stops them from having to go through puberty that they don't want, that they will be anxious, depressed, and unfortunately some of them don't make it because of the just sheer horrible experience of going through puberty that you don't want.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how it's okay for cis children but not for trans children, because in the future they're going to need therapy, operations, like things that you wouldn't want to put your child through willingly if you could avoid it.
And what about people who say, but like you said earlier, but puberty's difficult anyway?
Yeah.
So, like, what if people will say, well, you don't interfere with it because they'll get over that difficulty? Tell me what it would have been like for you to have puberty blockers.
It would have saved my mental health. It would have given me freedom, like time, I think, and just, I remember starting puberty and I was a mess. I hated it. I was quite late in like developing in puberty anyway. I was in my dumb teenage brain. I was like, it's not going to happen. It just magically won't happen for me. And then when it did, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was horrible. And if I had the option, I think any parent would want to make an already difficult experience. Well, I can't see them wanting to make it worse. So, but not having the option to give kids the time, the space, like the freedom to not have to go through something that is already difficult and make it 100 times worse.
Why was it so difficult for you? What about it was so difficult?
My mum, again, trying her best, was like, oh, no one likes periods. No one likes this, like this and that. Nobody enjoys it. And you kind of go along with it. You're like, oh, if no one likes it. But then you do wonder, like, does anybody hate it as much as I do? And you kind of feel a bit dramatic. Like, why do I hate this so much? Why do I feel so sad all the time? And it's really alienating, I think, because if I would have known at least one other person that felt like I did, I wouldn't have felt so alone and weird and like dramatic.
And that's why community is so important, isn't
is.
it? Because it shows lots of other people just like you, which is really beautiful. And that's why the work that we do is
so important.
You being here. And was your chest a problem for you? You haven't mentioned it. Was it a problem?
Yeah. It was something before I was even transitioning, that I was hiding. I was never my friends would buy push-up bras and wear tops that would show it off, and I was never like that. It's one of the like before I had my children, it was barely noticeable anyway, which I liked. I didn't like that there was anything there, but I liked the fact that I could get away with like them not being noticeable. Unfortunately, after my children, they were kind of noticeable. Not for long though. I've got my referral letter.
So when you say your referral letter, where's that from?
It's with, what's her name? Fedora.
Okay.
And she is so lovely.
Yeah.
And I had an appointment with her a couple months ago just to sort of ask her some questions, like, you know, what kind of process it's like. And she was the only professional that I've spoke to that I've been genuinely at ease with. She is just incredible. And I can't wait to speak to her again. Get the ball rolling, and it's exciting. I'm not even slightly nervous. I'm like, let's go, like let's get this done.
So you've got an appointment with Fedora to be referred for top surgery, is that right?
Yeah, for the letter, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Got in touch with the surgeon. I need that letter. I'll get the letter, and then I'll be able to get my date. And it's.
And in the UK?
Yes. And
how long's the waiting list? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I'll probably find out in that first sort of appointment. Yeah. This has been a plan for like years, but I tried to go with different clinics. Cost was an issue because unfortunately we have to pay. Yeah. Some people go abroad, and that's fine. My mum was like, if you're gonna do it, can you please do it in the UK? I'll give you some of the money towards it. Just stay in the UK for me. And I was like, okay, fine. But even the whole 4 years, I got a letter from the NHS clinic, and I'm still nowhere near my first appointment with them. So it's
for just for the other people who are listening. So what appointment are you waiting for with the NHS?
First initial talking, anything.
Will they give you hormones? Will they give you testosterone at that appointment?
No. That is just because of the referral that was sent off by my GP. I'm assuming that's just what's your name, what health problems have you got? Okay, we'll see you in a year. Like I don't know how it works because they give no indication on what even is going to happen at that appointment. They give you a letter every now and then and go, "You're still on the waiting list," and I'm like, "Okay," like and you just kind of go along with it.
Yeah. So what do you think that clinic, this NHS clinic that you're waiting for,
Mm-hmm.
what can they give you that your GP couldn't give you? Like, is it the, like, what, do you mind if I ask what testosterone you're on at the moment? Sustanon.
Yeah.
So that, and how often, so it's an injection of testosterone. Do you do it yourself?
Yes.
Every
Every
3
3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And how much is it, how much injection is it? Like
1 mil.
1 mil. So 1 mil injection every 3 weeks. And where do you give it to yourself?
Thigh.
There.
Alternate thighs.
Alternate thighs. And like, so when you go to the NHS, like if your GP isn't specialist enough to do it, like what would the NHS be giving you?
I think the only thing, especially by the time I've had top surgery, that the NHS can give me is the ability for my doctors to give me my testosterone.
And how would they do that then? So what would that entail, if you like? The NHS would do what to your GP?
Send just almost like they give permission for them to prescribe it. Like, I don't even think the GP would, if I still needed that, would show me how to do it. I don't know if they would need someone to tell them how often I needed my bloods doing. I don't know. I think I'm still just on the waiting list, just to be able to pick my testosterone up from a pharmacy like I would any of my other medication. And by the time they get to me, I'll have done everything myself anyway, which unfortunately isn't the case for some people. I could not imagine waiting the average of 7, 8, 9, like even longer years for the NHS to catch up to me, because I wouldn't have got through it. And waiting times like that are just cruel. And the constant blocks that you meet, like the GP, even though it's something that I'm prescribed, won't give it to me because it's not an NHS clinic that prescribe it to me. Like, it's no different. It's something that a doctor has deemed safe for me to take. Just let me be able to buy it like I would any of my other prescriptions that I need.
Yeah. And so how often do you have to have blood tests?
I'm supposed to have them. I have them every 6 months anyway, because I have a thyroid condition. Sometimes they don't include my testosterone. It depends. Sometimes they don't even put the testosterone results in there because they class it as not medically
indicated, is it?
Something like that. And I'm like, but I want to know. But because they've not been told by an NHS doctor to check them, they won't. And you kind of left in the dark a little bit. Like, are my levels okay? Are they not? Like, you don't know. And even though it's something that I've taken for a few years now, it's hit and miss whether they'll let me know what those levels are. They won't. If I wanted them just my testosterone levels by themselves, they wouldn't do that for me. And I don't understand why. It just seems like they're actively disapproving, and it's difficult.
I've heard that before from you. Being told off, doing something silly, disapproving, be normal. Yeah,
like do it the proper way, or we're not helping you. And I just think it's unnecessary and stupid
and cruel.
Yeah, if it was a cis man who had low testosterone levels, they'd have no problem with it. But because I'm a trans person, I'm using resources, and it's like, hang on, I'm paying for it myself. I got the diagnosis by myself. I pay for my treatment by myself. Like, it's one lousy blood test, and you can't even give me that. No. So it feels like a punch in the gut sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about legal things? So like things like passport or driving license or birth certificate? Are you your name on bank accounts? What about things like that?
I don't have a gender recognition certificate yet because of the sheer amount of effort you have to go through. I changed my name by deed poll, which luckily was pretty easy. And that helped with things like bank cards, letters in general, bank statements, things like that. I actually had, I went to France this year and I had to use my old passport. And that was horrible. I had to shave what little facial hair I had off and dress just so I didn't get denied access to use my passport, because I didn't realise that you didn't need a GRC to change your passport. Now I do. I'm in the process of changing it, so that doesn't ever have to happen again.
Good.
But it's not easy.
No.
Like, if you don't have the information out there, you don't know. And now that I do know, I can change that. But
for those who don't know, what does a GRC give you? What is it? What does it help you do?
Gender recognition certificate gives you a birth certificate with, like a new birth certificate with your correct gender on it. Like, my original one says female. I've had unfortunate situations where I've had to give my birth certificate in at a job that I was at, and then got outed at that job by the same people who were supposed to keep that information to themselves. I left that job and it was a horrible experience. It just creates situations where you're outed and alienated and bullied, basically. And it was horrible. It's kind of those reminders that you get in your life where you're like, I'm treated differently because I'm trans. And then you internalize it and you're like, if I wasn't this way, it'd be so much easier. But then there are so many good moments where you celebrate it. But the odd bad situation has you going, I wish I wasn't like this. But
well, it's not. I'm gonna turn that one round,
yeah,
because it's not you.
No.
That needs to not be like this. It's the system, that needs to not be like this.
Definitely.
Because that's what's letting you down. And what about your eldest? What's going to be on their gender recognition certificate? What's on there going to be up there? Updated birth certificate? And the reason I ask, I'm not asking you to choose. I'm just saying, because non-binary is not an option, is it?
It's not. And it's so frustrating. I identified as non-binary for a while, because it felt like the easier step than going fully. And it wasn't me. It didn't last very long, but you could not. The amount of times I was told, but it's not a legally recognised gender marker. And it's like, well, why?
We'll change the law then.
Exactly. Like it, and I could imagine that someone who has to deal with that constantly, it would be so frustrating, because to be told that you're not legally recognised is horrible.
And if you had a magic wand for the trans community, what would your wish or wishes be?
All anyone wants, whether you're trans or not, is just to be like everybody else. Have the same privileges, advantages, experiences as everybody else. If I could just wave a magic wand and everyone would get into their heads that we just want to be ourselves and that's it. We don't want to invade people's spaces or take away from anybody. We just want to exist the same as everybody else. And if I could broadcast that into everybody's mind and it would stick, like that is what it would be. Just let people be themselves. Someone else's life shouldn't affect yours.
No.
People should just be able to be however, whoever, whatever they want, and not have to have these little reminders that they're not, or that they should feel any less than anybody else.
Well, I think being accepted is a very small thing to ask for.
It really is. We don't want special treatment. We want the same treatment as everybody else, without the questions, without the interrogation, without the judgment.
Well, I think your story today will help people who are listening to go that one step further. Yeah. And even just a few people accept the next trans person or trans community that they come across, then we've done a really good job.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being so honest and sharing your story. And thank you. And you're amazing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has helped you. And I think you're going to like this one that's on the screen right now.